Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for coming. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome you formally to the university as doctoral research students. My name is Ian Douglas. I'm Director of the Doctoral Academy, and that is the name that the university uses to describe the structure and environment that supports and develops doctoral students here at Sheffield. Now, you will have had, no doubt, one or two inductions already from departments, maybe, or centres for doctoral training, even from a faculty. This is the university-based one, and what we do is we're going to give you some information which won't be exactly the same as you've received elsewhere, but hopefully when you put all of the inductions together, you will receive all of the information you need at this stage. Undertaking a PhD can be an insulating and a daunting task. The evidence of your success will be the production of a thesis in approximately 3 years' time, and you will, in that thesis, have developed a series of arguments that you then have to defend under significant scrutiny by some experts. During that process, of course, you will think you have developed some skills to do with your specific research project. What you will also have done, but often is unrecognized by you yourselves, is developed a whole range of other skills. These are, if you like, sometimes referred to as generic or translational skills. And these, of course, equip you for careers in a whole range of different professional contexts. During the process of being here at the university, we do encourage you to develop a lot of these additional skills outside of your own personal discipline. And that is done through what we call the Doctoral Development Programme. And you will find out a bit more about that, but there are various publications and things available to you on the desks here outside and also online. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of information about the university, about your role within it, and then we were to have a presentation from one of our supervisors, who is in fact also a postgraduate tutor in a department, but unfortunately Dr. Herbert has telephoned ill this morning, and so I'm going to cover those slides and talk as well. And then we have some information from our two Doctoral Academy interns. These are PhD students who are working here already in the university, Monica and Laura, and they will give you a little bit more information about the Doctoral Academy and your relationship with it and how you can enhance your time here. Then you will have a talk from Jane Sim, who's one of our specialist careers advisors for postgraduate students. And then there will be a talk from the Postgraduate Society and the Postgraduate Committee of the Students' Union to tell you a bit about the postgraduate community. And I think that's a really important word, community, because you are all here together in one community of students. However, having said that, being a PhD student is rather different from your previous experiences. Now, almost all of you, I should imagine, have come to your PhD having studied a first degree, which is a taught program. That might be a bachelor's or it might be a master's degree. And, of course, in those situations, the whole cohort is doing the same thing pretty much at the same time. You're receiving the same information. A research student study is quite different. Nobody is going to give you a series of pre-prepared sets of information about your particular project. You are all doing unique and individual projects. Nobody in this room will be doing exactly the same project, and indeed nobody in your department will be doing the same project. It's true to say, of course, that if you're in a research group, maybe under one supervisor there might be half a dozen PhD students, and they're all working towards the same overall direction. But what they're not doing is doing the same project. So you are absolutely on your own, if you like, in that context. You are working on your own project. So it is very different from your previous experience. Also, many of you will be studying here at Sheffield for the first time. Some of you will have been students here before. Those of you who are new to the city will of course be experiencing a new environment, both in terms of the university itself and the accommodation and the city and its amenities. And this takes some time to get used to, find out where things are and settle in. But we're here to help you, be patient, and also be inquisitive and go and find out what there is to offer, because there's a huge amount of information and facility available here. Also, because of your previous educational background, you may find that this is somewhat different from what you experienced before. And so you may have come with some preconceptions as to what to expect. I can pretty much guarantee it won't be identical to what you expect. And so it's important to have an open mind, and that you try to, as I've said, engage with all of the opportunities and facilities that are offered. Now, there are a series of stakeholders, we could say, in your research. Clearly, you are one of the primary stakeholders. It's your research project. You need to make it work, and we want you to succeed in this. Your supervisors or your supervisory team are also very, very important to you and have a great deal of interest in the way in which your project develops. They, of course, benefit from your research at the same time as helping you to go through it. If you're a member of a particular research group, then of course the other members of that research group also have an interest in what you discover in terms of new material. Your department and the university are also particularly interested in the research. We want this to be high quality. We want to see the outputs from this which benefit you, and of course they also benefit the university as well. And the people who are supporting you to be here, the funders, they may be a government body, they may be a charity, or indeed they may be family members, or to a degree yourself as well. They, of course, want you to succeed, as do we. And then the wider society have a stake in your education as well. That is in terms of being able to provide back to the knowledge economy all of the information that you have found. So that implies then an element of sharing of information as well once you have completed your studies, or indeed as you go along. So the wider society is also an important aspect here. For the moment, of course, the focus is on you and your future, and that's why we're trying to develop you and trying to get the best out of you, both in terms of your research and your own personal and professional development while you're here. Now, the University of Sheffield has been around for quite a long time now. It actually has its origins 187 years ago in 1828, and it was the medical school that was the starting founding institution. And that was actually based down in the city centre. And then round about the mid-1800s, someone called Thomas Firth, who was one of the steel magnates of the city, was very interested in education and provided money for what was called the Firth College at the time. And gradually then the citizens of the city started to give money, donating from their wage packets, to develop a university to educate their children. They saw this as being the future. And this, of course, was quite enlightening. And then in 1905, the university received its Royal Charter. It only had 100 or 200 students at the time. And now, of course, we've developed since then, and we've got 24,000 students approximately. And we are an international university, which is evidenced by the fact that we've got around about 4,000 international students. And these represent as many as 130 different countries around the world. Those students are supported by about 6,000 staff, and about 1,200 of these are academic staff. The university is divided into 5 faculties, and I hope you can see and recognise the name of your own faculty there: Arts and Humanities, Engineering, Medicine, Dentistry and Health, Science and Social Sciences. Actually, we do have a 6th faculty, which is called the International Faculty, which is based out in Thessaloniki in Greece, where there are some research students, but those students actually belong to the departments in these 5 faculties listed here. The university does a lot of research, and generates income from this research at around about £140 million a year. Now that research, of course, tells you one of the things the university is here for, and that is to carry out research. And indeed its motto is rerum cognoscere causas, which means to know the causes of things, which was in a poem by Virgil back in 29 BC. That indicates that we consider ourselves to be a research-led university. And in that context, we apply this to teaching at undergraduate and master's degree level as well. So we educate our students right from the start to ask questions and to seek the answers to those questions themselves with the encouragement and help that we can give, which is exactly training, if you like, the very early stages of being a researcher. We also have a responsibility for knowledge exchange, and that means to tell the outside world, to tell businesses in the region, etc., about the research that we've done and its importance. And this is a skill which you yourself will experience and develop over time, of trying to explain to people who are not in your specialty what you're doing and why you're doing it and why you think it has importance. And that's crucially important in this knowledge economy that we live and work in these days. All of these activities, of course, are blended together and complementary, and so they're not independent of each other. They all actually are linked. Now, as a doctoral student here, you might assume, quite rightly, that you would have some expectations. And I think it's fair to say that you should expect, and indeed we strive to make sure you experience this, to undertake research that makes a positive difference in the world, that changes the way that people might think about the world, and enhances the standing of research as a profession. And also for you to develop intellectually, professionally and personally through the experiences of studying here at the university and from the opportunities that are made available to you. We want you to have access to research expertise both in your own discipline, but in addition to that, to other disciplines. And we would encourage you to try to look across disciplines, because at the boundaries of disciplines seems to be the way where the larger breakthroughs often occur. If you experience other disciplines, it often helps change the way you think about things, which might give you new ideas and new perspectives on your own individual research project. You can expect, of course, in this context to also have support from a supervisory team, which is a primary supervisor and a second supervisor. The roles that those individuals play varies a bit from student project to student project and also from department to department, but they are nonetheless all there and available. You can expect to be treated as a professional colleague. That might sound slightly surprising to start with, coming as a student and being supervised by somebody. But we view this as being, at the moment, you are a beginner, a starter researcher, and gradually you will climb what is often referred to as the skills escalator until at the top you are on a par or equivalent to your teachers and guiders, and that's the way in which we treat you and look on you as a professional colleague. You will, of course, in order to achieve this, have to push the boundaries of your research area. So we need you to be inquisitive, to be inventive if necessary, but also to look very carefully and work hard at all of the information that is available. You can expect to have access to high-quality doctoral development training programs, and there's information about these on the websites and also on the desks out in the area behind this screen. You will undertake then this personal training, doctoral development program, but it is individually tailored. We changed the way in which we operate this a few years ago, moving from a series of modules where you had to gain a certain number of credits through to something that was really tailor-made for your needs, because we recognize that you're all different, you all have different backgrounds. Some of you might have come directly from a bachelor's degree and others from a master's degree, perhaps even having been in the world of work at some stage in between. And therefore your experiences and your skills are quite different. And so you go through a training needs analysis to find out what those skills are and where the gaps are. And on the basis of that, you plan what additional training seems appropriate for you to gain. Some departments do have some compulsory training, and there is one that we ensure for all research students, and that is a module in research ethics and integrity. You can expect to have access to high quality professional support services, and indeed some of those you will see mentioned outside behind the screen here. And this covers the whole range of needs from IT, library, all the way through to careers advice and personal support for counselling and so on. And these together, of course, support your progression through the university. Now, it comes as no surprise, I'm sure, for you to realise that we also have some expectations. We expect you to be motivated in your research project and to be passionate about it, or at least to become passionate about it as you find out more. And this will require you to be inquisitive, be proactive and plan your research carefully. And one of the most important things there is to persevere. It won't be straightforward or easy, and you can guarantee that things will go wrong. It won't be a straight road. There will be deviations that come up, and some of those actually lead to really very enlightening areas of research and pathways. And we expect you to develop ultimately into an independent thinker and an independent researcher by doing that. We want you to undertake, of course, original and, a key word here, high quality research. And this therefore requires you to communicate well with other people, particularly in your discipline, but also in other disciplines, as I've mentioned. And you must be able to report to the wider public in general about what you do. And there are a number of events that are put on that allow you to take part in that type of public engagement. We expect you to display at all times the highest standards of research ethics and integrity. And what this means is to be totally honest, not to cheat, and to be professional in everything that you do. And that is the reason why we ensure that everybody does the research ethics and integrity training. And this has become a really important aspect. And occasionally you hear in the media about somebody who has been ridiculed because their data has turned out to be falsified. So it's absolutely crucial that you learn to be honest and analytical and dispassionate about the information that you generate. We expect you to use the opportunities to acquire these professional skills and knowledge, and also to adhere to your timeline. Now, no doubt your department will either have talked to you already or will shortly about your timeline, and they vary a little bit from place to place. But they are nonetheless more or less on the same line, and that is that about a year after registration, you go through what's called a confirmation review, which is where you have to produce a piece of written work, and then at that stage you have to defend that normally to other people in the department. And then at the end of the second year, we want you to start thinking about what sort of shape your thesis might take. What's it likely to look like? It doesn't mean detailed planning down to every individual paragraph, but you should be starting to think about this piece of work that you've done and what's it going to end up looking like. And then, of course, at the end, we want you to produce a high-quality thesis. There are other signposts along the way and milestones, which I won't go into now because you'll receive more detail about those. And I've said they vary a little bit, but those two or three main ones everybody has to go through. This is your university. We want you to play an active part in the way it's run, the way it's organised, and the way in which you can benefit and help other students who are here. For example, you might take part in collective decision-making through committee work or groups, and we're always on the lookout for students who will contribute in that way, and you'll hear a bit more about that from the other students who talk to you in a few moments. We expect you to use the opportunities to contribute to the university's ambition and to use opportunities to participate in the community of students here, which is the Doctoral Academy. So the Doctoral Academy is aimed at providing a supportive, thriving and vibrant community, and that only works if you have an input into that. We also want to break down barriers between subject areas and disciplines so that you feel as if you can talk to others on an equal footing and share experiences and collaborate. And it's the collaborative aspects that really make a difference in terms of the quality of what you end up generating. The Doctoral Academy is a key point of reference, and you can see the URL there on the screen, but it's also in other places, in other bits of literature that are around. So the Doctoral Development Programme leaflet, for example, get hold of one of those. And very shortly, a new version of this is going to be released in what's called the Doctoral Portal, and that Doctoral Academy Portal, and that will allow you to have effectively a one-stop shop where you go to that and you'll be able to click on various aspects that will take you to the relevant parts of the university rather than searching in vain for many hours to find the appropriate piece of information. So we hope that that will help you a lot. So my message to you is to be inquisitive, I think to be inspired, and also, of course, to be ambitious for yourselves. And by being ambitious for yourselves, you will also be ambitious for your university. And I wish you every success and hope that you really enjoy your period of study with us. So thank you very much for that section. Now, because Dr. Herbert can't be with us, as I've said, I've got her slides, so I'm going to go through these with you, which will pick out a few and add to one or two of the things that I've mentioned already about the relationship between you and your supervisor, or as it's billed here, getting the best from your supervisor.
Apologies, Professor Douglas. Not great sound, and we're just wondering if we can make it any louder.
Go on then.
Yes, I don't know how, but I thought I'd come and have a quick look. Somebody was meant to come and assist us. Might be we can't, we might just need you to bellow.
Can anybody not hear? Put your hand up if you can't, and I'll try and shout louder. Okay, so maybe the ones over here can't hear because the speakers are pointing in this direction. So this is really about the relationship between you and your supervisor and getting the best from that relationship. And Dr. Herbert started by actually asking students for tips, if you like, things that they might give advice on. And they actually say, begin by shaping your study to what keeps you interested. Now, I think actually that will apply certainly to a lot of students, indeed all of them eventually, but in the beginning, for a number, the project can be planned out or has been planned out by a supervisor, so you already know a direction. However, the subsequent shape of that study is something that you will develop yourself and have a big input into. A piece of advice is to read everything that you can get your hands on. Now, clearly, that goes without saying, I think, because you're here to be a sponge, to take in everything that you can about your particular area of research, your subject, and also other areas as well. So keep a very open mind. Discuss your work with other people, especially in the design phases. That obviously is particularly relevant to those where you're designing a study and it takes you several months to actually formulate that protocol and study design. Others, it tends to be more piecemeal, and you work through a series of things and gradually you design it. But that bit about discussing your work with others is really important, to make sure that you take the opportunity to do that, because their comments can often be very helpful. Their experiences, if they've already been here for a little while, can be very helpful. I mentioned sticking to your timeline, and here the students say manage your personal timetables. Some say do a checklist for each week and tick off the things that you have done or need to do. And of course you have to manage your own time yourselves now, which is rather different from when you might have been a taught student that had a curriculum and certain taught elements were given at certain times. Now nobody is going to chase you. You have to take that responsibility yourself. Communicate and discuss with your supervisor. If you look in the regulations, interestingly, that's pretty much the only thing that is an absolute requirement. You have to meet and talk with your supervisor. And of course, your supervisor is going to give you as much guidance as they can so that it's not a guessing game for you, but actually they're going to lead you down, hopefully, the initial path to help you find your own path. I'll put a slight caveat on the last one. Take days off to relax in between. I think that depends on how much time we're talking about, but you are entitled to holidays, just like everyone else. Normal, that's considered to be around about 6 weeks per year. So it's a little bit different from an undergraduate student. But I think it is true to say that relaxing and learning to relax properly helps to stimulate and generate new ideas in your own mind. Advice to supervisors and from supervisors: this is the most intense, concentrated period of study that you've had so far and that you probably will ever have. And it says try to enjoy it. I would encourage you to enjoy it rather than just try. It's your project and it depends on your ideas. So your input is absolutely vital. And you're part of a team very often. Some supervisors may only have one PhD student, so the team is the supervisory team plus the student. Some supervisors have up to 10 students, in which case the team is somewhat bigger. But the important thing is getting involved with that team and communicating with that team, because this often leads to lifelong collaborations. Very often you find that PhD students, when they graduated and go elsewhere, keep in contact with their supervisors. And those supervisors provide references and advice on careers and guidance and so on for them in the future too. And you are a professional conducting a piece of research. And that's the way to think of yourselves. You are now a professional, gradually climbing up that skills escalator that I mentioned. And a PhD, therefore, is only the first step. It's not the last step. It's the first step to the rest of your career. So you have to start thinking ahead. Indeed, we have a program called Think Ahead Program to get you to start to think about the things that might come after your PhD. Now, your supervisor very definitely values you and also the research that you do and wants to collaborate with you. That's the way to look at it. You're working under their guidance, not necessarily their direction. The supervisor wants you to get the best from yourself and your project. And don't forget, they're human as well. They don't know everything. And in fact, that's the point. You're trying to educate them to a degree as well by generating new knowledge and new thinking. They won't always be the source of help. There are other sources of help during the life of your project. That might be someone else working in a room down the corridor, or it might be some other professional service here in the university. But the important thing is that they are not the only source of information, and you need to go and seek that information very often yourself. Your supervisor, of course, can also help to establish you in your field. They may well introduce you to certain colleagues that they know and have met and worked with in the past, perhaps at conferences. And these sorts of introductions are very useful for your future career. I guess there are expectations. I've referred to some. The student should take responsibility. So I've mentioned that word several times. You need to be professional, and by being professional, that means that you turn up when you say you'll turn up, and you conduct yourself in a professional and businesslike manner. And you communicate, listen, question, that's what it's about. Seek clarity, and also take notes, because I've seen people who work in laboratories start off with experiments in the first day, and then by the end of that year, they can't remember a thing about what they've done or how they've done it, because they didn't write it down. Meet deadlines, particularly in the timelines that I've said, but your department will give you encouragement and also reminders about a number of the deadlines that you face. The supervisors, of course, are expected to oversee your project and provide support and encouragement. They will give you commentary and also give feedback on work that you do at appropriate times. And they are your mentor to a degree and give you the guidance. They can also advise on career guidance, but we also have specialist careers advisors as well. Establish the rules. So from a student perspective, you need to arrange the meetings. You need to get access to your supervisor. So don't just put them off if the supervisor's away. Reorganize a meeting. It is, of course, a requirement that you meet with your supervisor in a formal way, that is a recorded meeting, every 4 to 6 weeks. In addition to that, we would normally expect a supervisor to meet their student more frequently than that. But it depends a bit on the time of year, it depends on what subject area you're doing and so on. But that is a requirement that you have a meeting every 4 to 6 weeks. In that meeting, you can set the agenda. That the supervisor may also have certain things that they want to talk to you about, but you can set the agenda, and generally the student records the discussion so that it's entirely clear what targets and deadlines there are associated with the agreed plan. Be assertive, certainly, in terms of ensuring that you are getting from those meetings what you actually want and need. And be entirely honest about your work. The supervisor will negotiate aims with you for the research and will clarify and agree those aims and deadlines. So it's important, and you will see on the various forms that are used to record these meetings formally, that it actually asks the question about, are you clear about what the aims and objectives are for the next period? You would expect to get timely and constructive feedback on any written work that you do, and information about the style of your writing, which may be technical writing, or it may, of course, be creative writing. And the supervisor should be open to discussion and clarification for you. Obviously, we wish you the best of luck in all of these things. Your PhD is a partnership, actually, and a collaboration with your supervisor and others that are involved in your discipline and areas of work. And your relationship with your supervisor will probably evolve. As I've said, when you start off as a starter researcher, you're very much more at the student end of the escalator, and then you become a colleague at the end. So your relationship evolves over time. And you probably attend conferences and actually publish articles together. It's very common that by the time you finish, there might be one or more publications that you have written with your supervisor as being one of the co-authors. It's a marathon. That's the important thing to remember. It isn't a sprint. You have a certain timeline, but also it takes time to develop all of your ideas. I apologize, I've gone one slide too many. That's all I wanted to say about the supervisory relationship. Anybody got any questions they'd like to raise at this stage? Okay, so I'm going to hand over now to our 2 doctoral interns who are going to talk to you about the Doctoral Academy.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Whoa, hello. Good morning, everyone. Okay, before we get started, I want you to shake the hand of the person next to you and say good morning and say welcome to the Doctoral Academy. Okay, very nice. You just shook the hand of the person who will take that grant away from you. No, just kidding. These are your future collaborators. These are your future partners. These might also be your future rivals. Okay, so my name is Monica.
And I'm Laura, and we're both PhD students at the University of Sheffield.
Yeah, great. So we're just here to welcome you again to the Doctoral Academy and tell you some things about what to expect about being part of this vibrant community, as Ian mentioned. So we are a community of collaborative, outstanding, inspiring researchers. So the Doctoral Academy is actually all of us here. If you're a PhD student, you are part of the Doctoral Academy, and the Doctoral Academy supports you in your journey as a PhD student, or a PGR as it's known. We want to know, what are you doing? What's your research? Why is it important? Why is it interesting? And we want to tell the local community, the global community, within, outside the university, back at home, everyone, about the interesting, inspiring research that you guys are all doing.
So how can we help you as a PhD student, and what can you get from us? So we have a website which we're going to show you, and this is we're trying to make it the kind of one-stop place that you can come to get links to other things. So we've got a blog at the moment where we talk about issues that will affect PGRs, and we're also encouraging you all to write for that. So if you want to write for us, then get in touch with email. So to show you the website, so this is the Doctoral Academy website, and this will change in a few months' time, but this is what it currently looks like. So here, this is the blog where students can write links to news and events that might be of interest to you. Useful links, so these are more support things, so things about finances, the different forums, things like that. So we encourage you to come onto this site and use it, and the more that kind of you guys engage with the Doctoral Academy, the more that you can get out of it, basically.
Yeah. We also offer opportunities to network. As Ian mentioned, sometimes the PhD PhD process can be quite insulating. You feel like you're working on something very specific. You're alone in your lab, you're alone in the library doing a lot of solo work. And so we want to offer some opportunities to network, to meet other PGRs. Yes, they are out there. You're not alone. We have coffee mornings. We're going to have some speed networking events. We're going to host several training and seminars, and I think there's a big one next year hosted by the Doctoral Academy as well. And I also wanted to do a plug for the Graduate Resource Center. The GRC, if you haven't been there yet, is in the Dainton building on the C floor, I believe. And you can ask Anita for extra help if you want to get into that. But it's actually a space dedicated for postgraduate researchers. Not all departments have desks and spaces for their students, so this is a great place to book a table, or if you need a more permanent space, you can actually do that through the GRC. It's free, and if you complete the appropriate safety trainings, you should be able to get access until midnight, I believe. So it's a great space. There's also a kitchen, there's a TV, there's a sofa. Great space to just relax in between typing your reviews and whatnot.
So dates for your diary. Our next coffee morning, which we invite all PGR students to, is on the 30th in the Graduate Research Centre. So it might be a good opportunity for you to see the GRC and what's there. So that's on the 30th at 10:45 a.m. And then we've got a speed networking event on the 26th of November at 6 p.m. in Coffee Revolution. That's in the Student Union. And we just also wanted to mention that there is a PG Society which do kind of social events that you might want to go along to, and they're going to do a talk in a little bit.
Yeah. So we'd love. Oh, sorry. Yes. A question. Yes.
Yeah. Kind of like in the week before an event, we normally send out an email, and then normally the day before as well, just to remind you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have them all year.
Yeah.
So I know you get like 50, 100,000 emails a day, but there will be one from the Doctoral Academy, so look out for that. So we'd love to we'd love to hear about your research. We have a contest that goes on. It will start next year called #RepresentYourResearch. Last year was a viral video contest to see what your research was about, if you could explain it really well. As Laura mentioned, we are always looking for bloggers. It's a great way to, put yourself out there, talk about your research that many people might read. If you are organizing something in your department and you want to promote that through that list, or you want to share it with the rest of the Doctoral Academy, get in touch as well. We can help you with that. And I think our last slide is just to stay in touch. We have a photo booth. Don't be shy. All these photos, especially from the beginning of our presentation, were from our coffee morning about 2 months ago. Yeah, so come stop by, have a little photo. You can send it to your parents. Look, Mom, I made it. And we have a Facebook page. We have a Twitter account, our email as well. And as we mentioned, PG Society, Charlotte, and PG Committee, Emily up front will talk about what they do and how we all support PGRs. So I think that's it. Again, welcome. And if you have any questions, we can take maybe one or two before we turn over to Jane. Just scratching hair? Okay. Okay, so again, welcome and thank you very much.
Okay, can you hear me? All right, can you hear me? Lovely. I am vertically challenged, so hopefully you can hear me. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much to the Doctoral Academy interns. I followed them at the Arts and Humanities induction last Thursday, so apologies to Arts and Humanities. I can see some of you here. I will keep this brief, because one of the key messages that I'm also saying, I'm also delivering out in departments and faculties. Welcome to the university for those of you who've not been Sheffield before. I would just like a show of hands. How many of you, this is your first time at the university? Oh, excellent. Okay, right, okay. Welcome to those of you the first time at the university who've come from outside the UK. Hands up. Right, okay. Useful to know. Thank you very much. Some of you will know the Careers Service. I've been a member of the Careers Service with my colleague Kevin Mahoney, who sat on the front for a number of years now. My main aim is to provide some information on career support, but I don't do this in isolation, and this is what I'm obviously going to try and put across to you. I work as part of a team, and to illustrate that team, I'm going to put a few logos up and explain this for you. Obviously, a key part of this jigsaw are your academic supervisors, your supervisory team that has been well outlined, and I work with my colleagues in partnership with your supervisors. So, you will see these logos. You've already seen the Doctoral Academy logo, and I would say the main part where I work with the Doctoral Academy is that I work over in the Graduate Research Centre that the doctoral interns have just mentioned. I run a lot of the sessions in support of the DDP over there with my colleague Kevin Mahoney. We run more personal one-to-one sessions over there, and you will be told how to book. It can sometimes be very, very confusing if you come to the university and you see all these logos and you're perhaps thinking, who's doing what and how do I fit in there? I think it's also absolutely crucial to know that as part of the next one called the Think Ahead programme, which Professor Douglas has just mentioned, the Think Ahead programme was originally devised and designed for research staff, because I also work with research staff, postdoctoral research workers, etc. The Think Ahead team will also deliver programmes that are very relevant for researchers. That will include all kinds of things, such as mentoring programmes, sessions for those of you who are wanting to look at grant writing, thesis writing, lots of things that are really, really designed to help you become an effective researcher. So look out for the Think Ahead programme. Outside, before you leave, don't forget there are stands. There's the Think Ahead programme there. There's the Doctoral Academy programme. Coming on to the Careers Service, my colleague Kevin and myself are the two, very nice to hear it say, specialist dedicated careers advisors for researchers. Apparently in the UK we are unique. We have two advisors that work with researchers. As I said, that's PhDs and research staff, and to my knowledge, that is not replicated across the United Kingdom. One thing that is very interesting, so I thought I'd get a plug in there. One thing that's very interesting is that the career service, we work with students from right across the board. I noticed there's the word students up there. I regard you as professional staff, researchers, and as such, there's a lot of professional development activities that have been mentioned. And when you go out into the foyer out there, you'll see there's an awful lot of things that I would very much encourage you to be made aware of. So, as I said, we are a service to researchers in all years. And there's also a note up there that we also support researchers who are part-time, distance learning. Some of you might have come here today, but you might be working from home, or you might be working in partnership with companies if you're on doctoral training centres. So we do try and cater for you in many different ways. We run careers and employability skill sessions as part of the doctoral development programme. I know, because I'm going around different departments and faculties, that you're getting your own input about this. But I will put up a slide shortly that will tell you what we're actually delivering from the point of view of the careers service. We run individual sessions, and there's a note there that we work in a variety of locations. My colleague Kevin is off to the Faculty of Medicine, Dentistry and Health shortly to provide confidential careers advice. You will see us right across the campus. I work in Arts and Humanities and the Faculty of Science predominantly. We run a series of skills development activities to support working with researchers, and we also work very closely with colleagues in the Think Ahead programme who are the researcher professional development team. And in your inductions, in your individual departments or your faculties, you'll get to know who these people are. Too many names at the moment to mention, but do look out for anything that's coming out from the researcher development crowd. Lots of good stuff to support you with your PhD. Maybe can't read that clearly, but if you'd like a list of the sessions that we're running that are DDP, Doctoral Development Programme accredited, they're out there in the foyer, in the area out there as you go out, so pick up. I'll be on a stand shortly, so you can come and talk to Kevin and myself. You can get more information about it. You might think, well, why on earth is she talking about these now? My belief is that it's never too early to start. From day one, it's about making yourself employable, whether your end goal is an academic career or you decide to pick up on what Professor Douglas was saying earlier about those transferable skills and opening up a lot of job opportunities. Okay, so these are the DDP sessions. I prefer to see them as sessions to help you become very employable. At the first slide that was put up, it's also about the skills you bring already, the experiences you bring. You bring fantastic skills. So when you're having your training needs analysis, in whichever way that will take place, do think about the fact you bring an awful lot to this university already and to your PhD. What is important, though, you don't know whether you can read that. You probably have to go on your side to read it. I have put, what skills do you need to enter your chosen career? Now, it may well be for some of you, you're keen to develop your teaching skills. Go and talk to Nigel on the Sheffield Teaching Assistant stand. Go and talk to some of the other people that are out there. There are things that will help you pursue the career you want to get into. It is all about promoting yourself. The Doctoral Academy interns talked about getting involved, blogging, researching, publishing earlier, all that kind of thing. I also write blogs as well with Kevin and my colleagues at the Think Ahead programme. So again, look out for those blogs. Keep active, keep involved. A slide from my colleague who's not able to be here today, that's Hilary Jones. She works with researchers who want to think about placements or internships, or because of the funding bodies, you're required to do a placement or an internship. So just a quick sort of flag about this one, just to make you aware of it, and I do have details on the stand. And what Hilary has said is that it may benefit you to think about a placement and internship. It's not obligatory, it is not compulsory, unless that is part of your funding. But do make sure this is something you're talking about with your supervisors, okay? On our website, you'll see a number of dedicated materials. You can pick up some of those as well. I've left them on the stand for you to pick up. Kevin and I like to refer to these as flipping books. If you'd like to save trees, you can go on there and pick those up, okay? We have a dedicated website. We also have vacancies. Might seem a bit early at the moment, but on that website already will be placements, internships, part-time work, etc. I think I'd just like to leave you with by saying, I think at the end of the day, it's up to you, but Sheffield is an amazing place for support. There is lots and lots of support out there for you to become an effective researcher, to complete your PhD successfully, to get what you want. But it's also a place where you can have a lot of fun and get involved in lots of different activities. So don't think it's all about, slogging yourself. It's about, I think one of the slides about research supervision, it's about finding a balance and managing your time effectively. Finally, although Kevin and I are based in many, many locations, we're actually in the building next door. That isn't the most attractive building, it's the education building next to where the car park's being built, and that's where you'll find us. So good luck with your PhD. I'm sure we'll find you in lots of different locations. You'll come across us again and the teams that I work in, and enjoy the rest of the morning.
So, hello everyone, my name's Charlotte and I'm the current chair of your PG Society for the year. Now, I don't know if any of you have come across the PG Society, but we're a student union based society, and we're more we obviously do care that you do your academic stuff. We're more to do with the social side of being a postgraduate researcher here at Sheffield. So who are we? We're a student-run society, and we organise events for both the postgraduate taught and research students here at Sheffield University. And we aim to encourage social interaction between all of the postgraduate students here. And I know, because I was sitting where you guys were last year, that it's very scary and daunting coming to Sheffield as a new student. And especially as a PhD student, you can think it can be quite isolating, because from my experience, you can be in a lab where there's just you and no other PhD students. I know some of you are going to have a big lab that's really social, and others you have not. So we aim to make sure that everyone at Sheffield has the ability to come and socially interact with other postgraduate students. So we hold regular events each month. They're organised and they'll be emailed to you to your email addresses. They'll also be on our Facebook page, which I'll talk a bit more about later. But we make sure that you have the opportunities to interact socially. And these events tend to include pub quizzes, which some of you I know from recognising your faces were at last night. We also do restaurants visits. We have mixed football about every 2 weeks, and I do urge some girls to come along because the boys are outnumbering us quite a bit and they're getting really cocky about it, so it would be nice if you could come and help us. And we also do coffee afternoons as well. So each month we tend to organise some special events. We try to have at least one each month, and so previous events that we've organised have included hiking in the Peak District. We go to Manchester for the Christmas markets pretty much every year. We do comedy nights at the Lead Mill, and we also have a spring ball, and we do lots of different things at Christmas as well. And so our intro week, because we're now a little bit older and we can't fit everything into 1 week, does extend to this week and next week as well. So tomorrow we're going for afternoon tea at Patisserie Valerie. On Friday we are going ice skating, which hopefully I will not be leaving in an ambulance. So on Sunday we're going to York for a day trip. And then next week we've got a comedy night at the Lead Mill. We'll be playing Laser Quest at Quasar, and we'll be going for a final pub crawl on next Saturday. And so you can find more information about these events on our Facebook page. So you can search for the University of Sheffield Postgraduate Society, and there should pop up a PGSOC account and a group. And you can become members of either or both, and that's probably the best way to keep in contact with what's going on, as well as by email. So we're pgsoc@sheffield.ac.uk. So email that address if you've got any questions. I'll probably be sitting there frantically emailing people all day. We also have a Twitter feed, and we're the University of Sheffield Postgraduate Society. I tweet about our events, I put some photos up of the events that we've done, and we do have our own website as well, which is the www.sheffieldpostgraduatesociety.co.uk. We do have a web page on the SU as well, where I do put our events too. So there's lots of ways to keep in contact with us, so you've got no excuse for not coming along. So now we're going to talk about the Postgraduate Committee, which is slightly different, but so Emily's going to talk to you now as well.
Slightly taller than my heels on today. Hi, yeah, so I'm Emily, and I'm the current chair of the Postgraduate Committee, which is a representative committee based in the Students' Union, so just behind here. So we're a fairly new representative committee, so like you have your Women's Committee, your Internationals, your Disabled Committee. It's a representative body for postgraduate students. We're only formed in July, so we're quite kind of a baby at the moment, but I'm coming here to kind of introduce it to you today. So like I say, we're based in the union, and we're all about representing you. So we're specifically representing postgraduate researchers and taught students. I want to make sure that your voice is heard, because I did my undergrad, my master's, and I'm now doing my PhD in the University of Sheffield. And as an undergrad, I felt I had a voice. I could go to all these societies, I can get involved in loads of things, and it's quite easy to target undergrads because they have a strict timetable. But we don't. So it's quite hard to kind of target postgraduate students, get their voice heard, and to make sure you guys have your opinion and get represented. So like I say, that's kind of what we're here for. So we bring together different postgraduate networks from across the university. So we appreciate there's kind of sub-societies and different groups in different faculties and departments, but we aim to bring those together to make sure that your voice is heard. So we aim to kind of help support you and make sure that if you have any issues with housing, welfare, your finances, anything like that, the union have great resources and great facilities there, and we want to make sure that you guys know that, and it is for you. The union isn't just an undergraduate hub, it's for all students, regardless of whether they're undergrad, postgrad, disabled, international, it is for everyone. So make sure you do kind of use those facilities because they're great. I'm actually going to point you out to a couple of stalls as well. So we've got the SU stall and also the UCU councillor who's just hiding around the corner here. So make sure you come and speak to these guys because they've got so much to offer, and it's all about, like Ian was saying, making sure you are part of that community and making sure your voice is heard, because you want to make sure that your experience as postgrad is the best it can be. So like I say, we represent you and your voice, and we want to make sure that there is a good link between where you're kind of, don't be isolated in your little department in your faculty. Make sure your voice is heard and come tell us, like, if you have any issues, if you've got any ideas you want to campaign for. So there's a couple of people that have come to me asking if we can campaign against the continuation fees. So this is a long way off yet, but when you finish after your 3 years, you actually have to start, currently people say that you have to pay to carry on writing up during that time. And we actually want to campaign against that because we think that's quite tough. So there's a couple of ideas like that. If you have anything, any issues, just make sure you come to us. But like I say, we're quite new at the moment. So the best way to contact us or to find out more information is via Facebook. So if you just search for the University of Sheffield Postgraduate Committee, that's the best way to go. And then once we kind of roll out our email address and our website, that'll all be rolled out via Facebook and email because it's currently in the pipeline. So like I say, please go and talk to Think Ahead, the UCU counsellor, the SU. They're great. There's so much available, and just make sure you get involved because it's terrible to be isolated. And I've got so many friends that I've made through joining societies and getting involved in other things I'd never have met if I'd never got involved in things. So please make sure you get involved. So just kind of summarise the rest of everything else. I'd just like to say thank you for attending this induction today. Please go and speak to everyone else and make sure you speak to some of the people sat next to you. Like, you probably see them around. You start forming your community now. Like, don't waste time. So just thank you very much for attending, and hopefully see you all soon.
So I'd just like to end the session by thanking all of the people who've given up their time to come and talk to you. Please go and look at the stands and pick up any information there. Keep your eyes open for emails that are going to tell you about some of these activities, the social ones and all of the other information. And good luck. We hope you enjoy yourselves, but please talk to us if there are any problems or issues. Thank you very much. Yes.
Some people reported that they couldn't hear, so I've been trying to look for people to come on.
So was it just the people around
I
there?
think it was
Yeah, you see,
yeah.
these speakers are just pointing forwards.
Ah.
So when you're on the side, I think it is hard.
Yeah.
Because you notice as soon as they turn away from the mic, the sound goes down enormously. You know? So, hello.
This is the research office executive reporting on
each faculty is responsible for their own students.
Exactly. They do their own thing.
Yeah, they do their
so
own
there is
thing.
not very much.
No.
I'll give you those.
Yeah. Thank you so much for stepping in.
That's fine. I mean, I'm sure she'd learn a better job of it, nonetheless.